Good morning, this is Bill's Never Ending Projects. Let's get to some schematics.
Okay, I might as well narrate my sheet I wrote up a little bit telling you what the switches are going to do. This is the third strike. It's a normal relay. We're not in the trip bank anymore, so there is no latching and unlatching. It's one of the 12 in a row. They're going to have a switch at J16, F6, H30, J24 and a half, and the relays on L15, the third strike relay itself. Now, of course, right away we should say how the relay gets pulled in. There it is, by the strike disc. So, when the relay gets pulled in, it's got three normally open switches, but number 4 is closed, and that was marked wrong, but I was able to correct it because it's the only normally closed one. Okay, so this is what we got. We got switch 1's going to hold it on. Hold on the strike relay. Switch 2 at F6 is going to, start the score motor. And then I put an orange bracket around these two because they're related. Switch 3, because if you're going to start the score motor, it's probably something that's going to happen with this third strike relay. So when it starts down at H30, the normally closed switch, these will all be, when this gets pulled in, this normally open will be closed, this will be closed, this will be closed. And of course that one will go open. So when this closes, it will, this is the third strike. So when you get 3 strikes, you get an out. So it's going to, it's going to pulse the out step up pulse to give it, this out stepper a strike, another notch. And this one is going to cut the fast pitch, breaks the fast pitch path. It's the one like other times when there's a whole bunch of these in a row. And I put down I had to change its name. Easy to tell because it was normally closed. Okay. So when all these are closed in its path, you get a fast pitch. But when we pull in and change this to normally open, it cuts the fast pitch. For the time that the third strike relay of the 12 in a row is just until this score motor cuts the hold. So all this happens pretty fast, so I don't know why they worried about cutting the pitch. So let's act like this one is normally closed when this isn't pulled in. It will allow a pitch because that's more like what it'll do. But the reason it's there is to cut the pitch when this third strike thing is going on. Maybe there's another, I don't know. It's just going to happen so fast it don't make any sense that they would put a switch in here to cut it for that second, 1 second. So when the game over is not tripped, switches, the game over is not tripped, when the second player is set up, not activated, energized, when the score motor is at home position, index, when motor relay number 4 is not pulled in, when our third strike switch is not energized, and when the slow pitch make and break switch is normally closed. So when all those, it allows the pitch. And that's about it. So we just gotta run it on the schematic. A little more connected to it, you're gonna have your strike lights that are connected to the strike disc. Connected to the strike disc, so when you're on strike one and stuff, it'll show up in the back box. There's an end of stroke switch on the strike stepper, so these strikes go along with the stepper. It's a special stepper in the bottom of the box, and that's where the disc is on. So this third strike relay and the strike stepper are two separate things, of course, but things get related in the gameplay area where the strike stepper has everything to do with the third strike relay, because the third strike makes the strike stepper move for every strike, and then the third strike is where all these three things happen. And of course the out stepper has an end of stroke switch, and that's what will, because when you get three strikes, you get an out. So that's going to be related. So the out stepper is related to these, and I did a little research, but we'll just tell you that it's going to make an out. These are the strike lights that go off during the strikes. And of course, we're talking about strike three. Getting down there, I guess I also used this sheet for a lock relay, but we're getting down there, so this should be number 7, as far as I remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Second player, 7. Yeah, so we're on 7. So it's gonna be, you're gonna see some of the lock stuff maybe, because I shared a page. It'll also be this third strike relay page. Right away we get switch number 2. Switch number 2 is up near the top. It's F6. It's in the parallel lineup with other things that will turn on the motor, along with if the reset holder relay shut.
The score motor.
The start relay switch 2 shut. Our switch that we're talking about shuts. 25 cent. So we're in this list. This is the third strike relay switch 2. Will start the motor. Let's follow it. It's going to go up to this one, so follow that one. Yeah, there's the motor. So that one's covered. We're going to start the motor with switch 3. Nope. Switch 2. Okay. Let's pass that one. So we're all the way down to 15, and we are at where the coil is. This can show how it gets turned on. They're showing it at strike 2 rivet. Let's take a look. But I think you just have to, this is the third strike, so when this moves up one more, it's going to connect. It's probably not wired to this one. It's probably wired to the third strike, because that's what it's called. But however, this is going to come on when it's the third strike, because it does all these 3 things at once in a moment's time. So why would you do it on the second strike? So what, you don't get an out on the second strike. So I gotta believe it would be the third strike. and then there's the strike unit end of stroke, which closes this every time, but it's not wired to these. So every time this closes, it doesn't do anything. But when it closes on strike 3, it does complete a circuit, because that's where they soldered these wires to the lug on those, to touch the fingers that touch the rivets. So it will pull in the strike relay, and that relay has the 3 switches, and 3 of them go through score motors, so score motors will have something to do with this. So that next strike will start the score motor, break the hold from cutting the ground as it turns, stopping the pitching, while the 3rd strike relay is pulled in. We don't have to go very far, and we're at the switch 1, because it's always near the relay, because this is going to hold it on. And to break this hold, okay, let's follow the ground to see how it's going to get broken, because when the motor turns, it will get broken. It says go to go to 5. So we're going to have to take this up to 5 and look for wire color 15. So let's take that up to 5. Here we go, wire color 15. And so it's this one. This is position 5. So it's closed all the time. When it gets to position 5, it will open. And it will break the ground. Back down here to where we went up an arrow. So then if that breaks the ground, it cuts the juice to the relay. Cuts the juice to the relay. And so this relaxes, and all 3 switches go back to their normal open state except switch 4. Okay, so that takes care of 2, and then we went down here to the coil where switch 1 is.
Well, the motor energizes it, and the end of stroke cuts it.
I learned something about this second player setup relay that we were just talking about. I wondered why it got the ground cut so quick, because then the run man couldn't go all the way around using the relay 4 to clear the bases. It gets the hold cut from, here's the hold switch. It gets the hold cut from the out stepper end of stroke, as that end of stroke opens this and shuts it every time it gets an out. So that breaks the hold. And the out stepper would have to move up 1 to get into position or something, so it must be that breaks the hold. So then that's why it stays on long enough to clear the bases. Switch 4 is the one that I said goes through all those switches where they have to be to make the fast solenoid kick in with the fast button. It's on the normally closed side of the slow pitch. Our switch has to be shut, but and the motor relay switch 4 has to be shut, and then this pitcher motor has to be at the index. Then it goes around up through here, and this second player stepper relay unit has to be not pulled in and have switch 4 normally closed, and then it has to go through game over, not pulled in, where switch 2 hours normally closed, and then it goes to F17, color 67, F16. Or close to F16. So then this is the game over relay pulse or cuts ground. That's what it's going to do, cut the ground when this turns out of the index. So that whole job here is just to have this open when the third strike relay gets pulled in. I thought it only takes us a couple seconds. It's one of those momentary things where these things happen. So why that's there, I don't know. That was switch 4, so then switch 3 must be lower down here. Okay. Excuse me, okay. H30 we're at, over here. So when the third strike relay pulls in, this shuts. And okay, well, what does it do? Follow it up. The out stepper, it adds the out because the third strike adds an out. So, sure, it was easy to read it off that list I had from researching this, but now I have to do it off the schematic. Okay, sure, when this shuts, that could pull that out relay in and make it an out if it gets a ground. Over here, the score motor is it's showing it open. It will close at 4, and it will give that pulse. So I guess the score motor's turning for this because when it got pulled in right there, switch 2 started the score motor. So start score motor. So instead of going back up on the schematic, we know it switch 2 starts the score motor. Since the score motor started, this out pulse will come when it gets to position 4. And then that will go up over the out stepper, makes it go up a notch. And it doesn't go this way. See, it runs into a T here. But that's the normal out switch from the playfield, and those are normally open. So it's only going to go that way. Okay, that covers all the switches. So this out stepper is way down here near the bottom. Our third strike relay is more up at 15. Yep. And the motor run is up near the top with those other ones, and this is the near the top. We're up to 6. Okay, so that's the third strike relay, and now I'm going to do research for match impulse. Okay, we're up to the match. I guess it's called the match impulse relay. It has one switch. That's it. One normally open switch. So you'll say this ain't gonna take long saying it, because you never know. Okay, this is a glimpse of what I'll explain in a second here. Inside this dotted line bracket is the match stepper unit disc. And inside this bracket is the second player 1-point disc and the first player 1-point disc. The 1-point disc is hooked to the wire heading to the match stepper disc.
So it covers both people.
It travels through this one. So if
both players.
the second coin relay, the credit button was pushed at the start of the game, and you put in this second coin to trip the next player, then this would be shut for the whole game, and it would be shut at the end of the game to get your match. So as soon as I explain about the one match switch, we'll come back to this and go through where it goes this way and where it goes this way. Next door to here, that's it. I'm using this hot pink this time. That's the match impulse relay coil, and it will get pulled in from the match if it matches, if this bottom one matches the top one. So I put, if these two green, that one and that one, if these two highlighted green brackets areas matched, when 1.9 score reels are idle at the end of the game, score motor switch job duty, which is that job duty of that score motor is to give the game over pulse. Also, it goes through, it's the game over pulse, so it also will do the match. And then it dies off after if it's not a match, it just dies off after it doesn't meet this one. Okay, so we're looking for switch 1, so I'll shrink it down a little. And we'll go up and look for that hot pink. Okay, we found it. Make it big again. There it is, number 12. 12, forget what these are called over here, F or J, F. So, 12F. Okay, I wrote it on here now, we're at the 12F area. So that's the ground. When that match impulse makes it down there and pulls in the relay, switch 1 closes, and it goes through the first set of adjustments. This one would be called the match adjustment. I guess other ones would be for these other ones. They put all the adjustments in a row here. So this adjustment was either on or off. Let's say it's on. So we come through here. This adjustment's on. We can keep going. We go up. Okay, we go up and we go through all replays. So if you don't want any replays, you put that in the off and everything would stop right here. But let's say we got this in the on, so you get all replays. Then if you didn't tilt it, we've been here before, if you didn't tilt it, it'll come over and do the replay stepper to whatever steps it gets for your replays. I got this arrow here pointing at switch 1, going what's going to break this. I put what's going to cut the ground on that hold, but what's going to cut the ground on that hold to the relay. But guess what? This is one case where switch 1, I put it can't just stay on and buzzing, but this is one case where this is not a hold. This is working like a match, like the back box. It's working the same as a back box relay, sort of. It's not a hold. So it just turns it on And since oh, we don't want the weather. I guess my mouse hits the stuff at the bottom of the screen. Anyway, it's not a hold, so when this gets the jolt from what does it get it from? Okay, I got it written down. When it gets the jolt, I put answer. When it gets the jolt from the game over pulse, start over, answer, game over pulse, only lasts a split second, no more. So the juice switches to electricity, switch one opens again and then closes. It closes for a second, then opens. It's not a hold switch. Okay, so that answers that, and that's about all I could come up with for any problems with the match. The only other thing we could do is talk about the match. We'll make it a little smaller, and we'll go back down to the bottom.
I don't know if I get. Maybe it is a hold switch. I don't know. I'll find out later.
I don't know how big we got to make it. Okay, so the match stepper. These two, one point, and then each one point from first player and second player are wired together. That means each score reel's on a different part of the back box. You got all this wire coming from the first player over to the right side of it if you're playing the game, it'd be the right side to these, because I know I wired it. Mine was scrapped out and I had nothing. So I wired these two together. I remember how long it took me to figure out what I'm going to tell you. So once I got these two wired together, they had to go to the match stepper unit. And that means then I have to join. So I didn't want to have three joined together, so I halfway to this one, or whatever you want to say, I put wires all on this one, and I wired these into this one before I got to it. So then when I come out of, so that way these are all wired to this one before I got to this one. So then when I come out of this one, I went straight for the match stepper unit and hooked up to the correct lugs. Then you're thinking, how do you know about the correct lugs? And it's the same with here. How do you know the correct lugs? I knew there was a factory sheet, and I just got a glimpse of one, but it's for a newer machine. Just got a glimpse of one, and it's a newer machine. I'm going to bring it up that one. See, that's an actual factory machine. It's got the word 24 volts on it, so I know it's newer. Nothing on mine's 24 volts. And it shows how they have the, I put the in and the out. But you still got to have the hot in the right spot.
Maybe. I don't know.
At least I think. It's been a couple years since I wired it. So you got your zero switch, you got your end of stroke switch, you got your closes at 9 switch, and then you got the zero. Here's zero's last, but you got the these are on the back, a second row, and then so let's see the one I wired, and so that's how these are for the end of stroke, zero switch, and closes at 9. I used to have this memorized. It always was close at 9, end of stroke, zero switch, but on the actual machine, when you get used to reaching up behind there, or when you take it apart, you write it. I had it memorized, this one's always easy to find. It's in the middle, end of stroke. Or one of them is. It might be different from the wiring. So they each have to have 2 wires coming to them. You could say the in or the out, or the hot and the ground. I forgot if it's an in and an out or a hot in the ground, but so this side had to go, because this is where they are, and the wires on this side had to go to this side. And then I somehow splice them in the middle, and then they have to go down to the match stepper, which is right, it's behind here. So you got these wires coming over there, and these have to hook together, and then these go down to the match. I remember when I drew all these up and used my multimeter trying to find out what lug goes to what. This is my first drawing of the run stepper. Then I got a better one of the run stepper. You get all these lugs over here, and I've never seen a factory one on this. So here's the reds column. I can't find where I put the ones for the, but it's the reds column where it's got to be the ones column. Okay, it's the ones column. So let's just use this one. It might be the same. These are the ones on the back. So on the back it started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's a second row, and that's all they needed, the second row. I put back side. Oh, and this is the bottom. Okay, I guess I could follow that if I have to. Yeah, so this is the bottom, and so I went further up and then counted back. Over here, here's my 0 switches, 9s, and end of stroke. And I just sat there with a stopper with the disc off with the rivet so you could see it, and I used a multimeter to tell if one got to 0, and then I could watch for the end of stroke, and I could watch for when one got to 9, and then I figured out what they were. So then I made up my thing. I have 2 empty ones, and then it says that's a ground. Oh, coil negative. But anyway, this one says this one's a hot. Had been 50 volts. This one, there's my 2 zeros. There's my 9 and my understroke, and then I guess this one's 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And then this one was the other single digits. So I remember when I had to figure all that out. But here's the thing. Here's where you hook a wire to it. But see these numbers? There's no wire going out. So it took me a while to figure that out. The wire coming out, might as well look at a factory drawing. See, there's no wire coming out of these numbers. The wire coming out was your base of the stepper. You just connect to the base of it. I'd have to go look, but I just can't remember what mine was, but they have a lot of lugs on it. But this is the match stepper, and the 0 through 9. Yeah, that'd be a picture of a squad drum. There's the 9th and the 0. Oh, they got the end of stroke down here. I don't think this one's like mine. Oh, this is it. Here's the 2 different ones. There's the little one from the newer ones. Here's the one I have. That's the printed circuit board. So when you do the match, your wires are all coming off that. And then you say to yourself, when you're going, let's see, these go to the match. So anyway, it shows those score motor things running together, the score motor drums running together and then going to here. And so I'm saying, they go to these lugs. Or maybe they don't. Now I'd have to have my match one up here so I could see it. Well, I guess those wires could go to these lugs. And then but they just show the wire coming off one of those lugs going to to pull in the match impulse relay. I wired it with something more catchy than that. Was it? Mine ain't gonna work. I'll have to get in there and change it. Anyway, that's the match. Okay, these are the ones we haven't done yet. The run relay. They're called the back box or insert. Run relay, high score, impulse relay, and score reset. So when I get through with these 12, I'm going to go right to them. We've done these 5 run man relays. We've done it's either 5 or 6 trip bank relays. That's 6. There was just a space in here, so it was game over twice. Tilt match, second corn, second player. But we're still trying to get these 12 in a row, I call them. But we are getting down there. So we're on the name, and the next would of course be the name reset relay. So we're on the name. And in the book, we're up on all the way to the bottom and up on the other side. 4 switches, all normally open. That was quick. Eventually, I suppose I could even cover the 3 picture relays, but when we get to the back box relays, we're getting close. So the name stepper disc is where it's the Grand Slams spell out shortstop. And they do put a dash in there. And there are adjustments to even get a couple wins on the way there. Okay, I went and got my thing I made up once. Funny I even found it. TNT rewards. I gotta read what I wrote here. On the first means there's going to be 2 T's. So on the first you get one credit, and when the arrow's on the second T, you get another credit. Rewards come during gameplay. I remember writing that. I thought everything had to be at the end of the game. Well, cool. And the T's are here and here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th Grand Slam and the 8th Grand Slam. So the 5th and the 8th, you get rewards. So you don't. Otherwise, you just get it for getting 10 Grand Slams. And the thing is that's called the name stepper unit. They got a whole stepper unit just for the name in the belly of the machine, up in front on the left. So then obviously every time that stepper goes up, one of these relays we're looking at is these will be hooked to that and will give you a light for each step. Again, we're in the name relay, and let's go down the thing and see where the first one. I didn't write up no sheet on this one. So I did highlight the circuit though. Yeah, 2 of them are over here, so 2 are already done. This is switch 3 and switch 4, so we only got to look at switch 1 and 2 after we look at these. So, of course, if the second batter, the first batter was through, and the second player setup does its job. This one's pulled in for the entire game. So when the outstepper gets a direct path at the 5th and 6th rivet, way to the outstepper. Oh, there it is. First player gets done. This would be game over, but with 2 people, now instead of game over, the second coin relay after pushing the reset button twice after reset would be down here. So that will pulls in the second player setup relay, and that sets up the second player to closing out the first player, totaling anything he had. And when you get to the 9th rivet, it'll jump back up to the same path it would have been, and then it would end the game over. The second player setup between players that it triggers resets the run man, resets the grand slam light if the first player hit 10 grand slams. This is all when a second player setup gets pulled on that rivet 6. I think it's rivet 5. They said it's 6. In case he ended on a 3rd strike, it breaks the 3rd strike hold. It resets the run stepper in case he had a lot of runs, because you deserve to be able to get the same 45 runs as he did. It pulls in number 4 relay and clears the base runners. Number 4 turns on number 3. Number 3 turns on number 2. Number 2 turns on the circuit that has the run man going, only it doesn't ring the bell. It doesn't ring the bell and put a player aboard. There's 6 switches of the second player setup. Then to reset the name, the grand slam, so if all those lights were out, this has to do with what we're doing. So if all those lights were on 10, it will reset those between players. After you push the credit button the second time after it resets, then it's going to pull in this second batter relay out of the bank relay. So now
It trips it.
get a grand slam instead of turning on the first player. See, there's a T in here. I kept going over here and it just said first batter up. There's a T and it goes down to here, and it would be the left side grand slam. And then, but we're doing player 2 right now just to show what happens at player 2. So this would be pulled down because you push the button that gives you an extra credit. You push it a second
player
time after reset. So now this is closed down. So now when you get a grand slam, it will turn on your grand slam light. Now I'll show you the 2 grand slams lights. This takes care of switch 3 and 4 of the name relay. It will say it right next to your white score reels. It will say it right there. Grand slam home run. And over here it will say grand slam home run for this guy. They both tally up on the credit thing, but they do at least give you a separate grand slam light. Or it's not a grand slam light, it's a grand slam sign saying you did it. And
It's both.
the tilt thing is down here, and the game over's over here. And the top to high scores there. And if it was, the machine was turned on and you got the lights kind of dimmed down, here's the match thing across the top. I couldn't see them, so I just typed them in. So it'd give you the number you matched here, I guess. And one of these would line up with the ones column. Okay, so let's go back from the 6-volt side to the 50-volt side. And the next one I'll be doing, I was kind of circling those two. Those are for the name reset relay. It's close, but so let's find our relay. There it is, name reset relay. Let's make this bigger. I put stars by the other two switches, one here, and one up here. Both between 22 and 24, 23. I'll have to write that down. I haven't made a sheet up for this yet, or if I ever study this again, I can use it to locate them. So, let's start at the relay. We're doing, this is the exact name we're doing, name relay. And let's see what it's doing here. Let me study it a second. Okay, I got it here. It's all going to start with this make break switch. So I put down the make break motor relay switch 3 will change poles because when a home run happens, or any extra base hit happens, relay 4 turns on B motor relay and turns on 3 relay, and it turns on 2 relay, and 2 relay certain number of things. But here we just want to know that the that this thing closed down here so that we get the circuit. So after the players, number 2 relay will run the players around.
When the index comes out,
Number 2 relay,
it turns on.
number 4
B.
relay will run a home run. And so for a grand slam, if you got 3 singles on there, it will go all the way around, clicking all the 4 home run or the grand slam switches, which is going to be on this other circuit. We're just seeing what this does. So this will close down when the B motor relay turns, because this is a B motor. Okay, this is not B motor relay. This is switch 3. Motor relay switch 3, which
Gets poles in when it's out of index.
It is B motor relay. They just didn't put B on here. I remember now. They didn't put B on here. So when this turns, this comes down, and then it's going to go over. First, it's going to give you the runs before it trips. It's going to give you the bell, the loading coil, and the home run. The home run rings the big bell, I think. So I don't know where that is, but base hits get the small bell. So after those things running, this the B motor relay is going to drop down, and on there is this switch dropping down, and the reason it's here is because the make and break switch is either one way or the other way, and after the B motor relay pulls in switch 3, you can now get this circuit closed to the name relay, and once the name relay is pulled in, then you say, I guess I bumped the mouse, then you say, well, how can that get turned on if it's got an open hold switch here, switch 1, because it's not going to go up there. Name relay switch 1. Well, that's a good question. I'm not giving it much thought because I didn't think of this earlier, but the name stepper unit end of stroke switch probably triggered this. And, oh, I get it now. This triggers it. The end of stroke on the name stepper unit for the Grand Slam triggers this. It pulls in all 4 switches. 2 of them for those Grand Slam lights on the other side. But with the switch down, only the second player Grand Slam would light up. So when this drops down, it's going to break this hold. This is going to pull it in. It's the end of stroke. EOS, end of stroke. So when it says mix, MK, that pulls in the name relay. And when the name relay pulls in, and this comes down and breaks the hold, because you can't have this humming all day.
No, it's when it goes back up.
Then we look for the other one, right here. Let me study that for a second. Yeah, it's got to do with the Grand Slam thing, because every base has a switch on it just for the Grand Slam. You got one at third, you got one at second, you got one at first, and if you follow this down to here, then it cuts over and then goes down. It goes over here, there's the home run switch. So, follow it back up. So when that Grand Slam shuts this one, it doesn't shut it, but it'll some thought ahead of time. But let me just think. I'm going to butt in here and put in a correction because later on, near the end of the video, I'm going to show you what I corrected on my presentation of how the Runman works with the cams. And I read it off a paragraph, which was probably going to be hard to follow because I'm trying to read it as I videotape it. So I made up a picture board here. So let's look at that, then you'll know what I'm talking about it when you get to it. Okay, it's about that cam timing positions. If the motor was back here,
on the Runman,
under the home plate, and you look back at it, first is over here on your left if you're behind the machine, and second's back by you. But anyway, it's 4, 1, 2, 3, and that's how they're on the cam. But as far as the order goes, the order will go, the timing order goes 1, 2, 3, 4, right in order. It's right in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously on the cam, it's the way it is. That's how it is here. They're staggered. You got 4 on the back side, then 1, and then 2 and 3. It keeps going back and forth, and they're kind of diagonal. But the timing order is going to be on these motors. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I got here is up here is your bell. Then you got the motor to run the Runman, and the loading coil. So you got the bell loading coil and the motor to run the Runman. These all come off the number 2 switch. And the number 2 switch, this is the number 2 that runs it. It's the third switch on this relay when it's pulled in. So this relay, number 2, runs all 3 of these. And the loading coil that I didn't draw a picture of. So it does this one, and this one. And it's the number 2 switch. I drew a little switch there. Drew a little one down here because it's number 2. So So AKA the big switch. Position 1, number 2. So position 4 cuts the loading coil. Position 4. It's a switch on the cam. Number 3 cuts the 4 relay. Position 2 cuts the 3 relay. And position 1 cuts the 2 relay. So the reason these don't, because every one of these switches go through a dwell every quarter turn. What I couldn't figure out for a long time is why they're just not all cut off. Because they all 4 switches go through a dwell. When you do a home run, these things open and close like 4 times. 4, and each one opens and closes in this dwell, and that one, and that one, and that one. So I kept thinking these would all be, it would break the holds on every one of these hold switches. But this is what I found out. Because during the Runman presentation, I found out about these order of these from a newer Runman from a different Williams pinball that was on some literature I read. If I had known something, I could put 2 and 2 together. These timing things are on the motors across from the relay. So here's 1, here's 2, across from 3, here's timing 3, across from 4. Now these 2 are make-break switches, but they don't have any effect on the cam going past these dwells. They have no effect on it. One of them when it changes poles, because whenever this turns, it pulls in B motor relay because it's open in the index, so it will pull that in. So whenever this turns, it pulls that in, and the only effect that these make-break switches are going to have
is they send another path lower down to something else. It doesn't have anything to do with it. It's still just the opening and closing of the switch, just like the 2-blade switch. That's the main thing to run the bass players around. So, and no 2 switches can be open at the same time. They have to, one has to shut, the other one then opens, then that one shuts, the other one then opens. That's why they're staggered, or they're in that order, or it wouldn't work. So that's why, so the last one to go through a dwell cuts off.
So it gets its ground. From here, but you're thinking, how can it get it? Because this is not going to pull in until it gets a ground. Okay, so that's not going to pull in. With this shutting, it still has to get a ground. So let's go the other way and see how it can get a ground. Then when it does get a ground, it's going to hold this in. This would be like a hold until this motor turns.
We're back on the home run.
I see, I overlooked one thing. This can't get a ground through this path because this is going to break the hold. That's what this is going to do, break the hold. Because this motor will turn, because when you get a home run, this is the run man, it's obviously going to turn. So that will break the hold, but first you got to pull in that number 4 relay over here, so it's going to go this way to get the ground. So let's just follow that up, follow it up. It turns here, goes up to here. See, I said it couldn't get no ground going up here because this wouldn't be pulled in until it gets a ground. So it's a T here. That's where it gets it. It goes through here. The second player setup relay will be normally open there. Closed.
Closed.
The game over switch 2R will be normally closed. It's not game over.
It'll still be latched.
So then you got to take this up to F17. Wire color 67. So let's go up to a 17. Wire color 67 right here, and there's your ground. Okay, so now we got a ground. So now when we hit the home, when we pull this down and it springs back up, we got a ground, and so that will pull in the number 4 relay. And now this would be shut for the motor to go, and when the motor goes, it'll break this hold. So let's follow this up now that it's a closed path to go further than this ground. Go up here. We go over here and go up here now. This is closed. And we came up and around, went through those closed two. Well, now we don't have to go through these two closed switches because we're going to the one up above it. We go up to here. We go through this one's closed. We're wondering about this name relay. So the name relay got pulled in from this is the name relay, so it gets pulled in from the name stepper end of stroke switch. So let's go see what pulls in the name stepper unit. Means I gotta go down here looking for the name stepper unit. Okay, I had a bunch circled up there. I said when I started, probably was a name stepper unit. Oh, yep, I had circled. So the name stepper is going to have a reset. That would be this one. Let me stare at it for a second. This is the one we're going to cover next. Right here, that's the name reset relay. That's after we're covering this one. So never mind that. This is the name stepper unit reset. Never mind that. We're not looking to reset. The one that moves it up one notch for a grand slam. Name relay, that's the one we're doing. So we're looking for that name stepper unit to pull in for that name stepper unit end of stroke switch and the whole stepper that will pull in the name relay that we're doing. So let's just keep looking. Found it at 23. We already knew where it was. I just didn't realize that it's lined up with right here where we got the switch open. It's right there. So this is probably acts like a hold switch for that. I don't know. But anyway, what pulls this in? So, oh, I just figured it out. Okay, because I thought all these can't close at the same time, but when you get a grand slam, you got 3 people already on. So they are all going to close at the same time. This is going to close, this is going to close, this is going to close, and you follow that home run down there, and this switch is going to close. So all these are going to close at once. That pulls this in. And makes this a good circuit. I'm starting to think after this pulls in, the reason this has got a make and break switch here, because look at, this makes this a loop. This will come around. Let's follow both of these going that way. So move it over here and center it. So we take them both up. This one comes around from this way. This one comes around from this way. We have a closed circuit right here. That closed circuit. Okay, where does it get its ground from? Well, the ground is this T, where it tees. right there, and goes over here and goes up to that arrow and gets that grounded, that score motor up at F17. So that makes a ground to pull that in. And when that's pulled in, we'll have to figure out how to get this name, stepper unit, end of stroke switch triggered. So that triggered it. When this Grand Slam roll triggered this for that second, that made it pulse 1 to give it 1 light of a Grand Slam. And it made this end of stroke switch pull in this name relay. So when the name relay pulled in, this will be closed to get it ground the whole time base is clear for the Grand Slam, because this will be down. Anytime the motor runs, this is shut. So one of the times that it opens in between bases at the index, it probably breaks the hold on this. So that's probably why it's there. So then switch 1 we could look at as a name relay hold. Switch 2 we can say is down to complete this Grand Slam circuit, this loop. And switch and switch 3 and 4 to switch 3 won't do anything. It'll shut, but it's not going to light up anything because this is changed down here for this player 1. His game's done. So now this second battery relay, switch 1R, is down here, and it gets triggered after the 4th out of the first player. So that's what I mean. He's done now. If this is down here, then you follow the green line from the ground down here, and the name relay switch 4 would be closed. We just covered that, and it will light up this Grand Slam light.
Right.
Okay, wow, that was tough. Okay, so we got through it. The thing is, I thought it was going to be easy when I started it.
It never is.
So we move on to the name reset relay. I'll save it for tomorrow. Okay, here's kind of a correction, but I wasn't really wrong. I'm just stating it so it's easier to remember. Back on the Runman number 2 relay, number 3 relay, and number 4 relay. Well, we're basically talking about number 2 relay. So when that gets pulled in, its duties, switch 1 was the hold switch. Switch 2 went from a make and break here on the Runman. So when it turns, it closes and goes down to the outstepper and to the match. The one I'm talking about is of number 2 relay is the switch 3. I used to talk about switch 3, which is right here. Number 2 relay, switch 3. I used to call that the big switch, but I didn't clarify. There's 2 big switches. This one's for extra bases. It goes to these 2 parallel feeds, which this is the extra base big switch called relay number 2 relay switch 3. This way goes up to the load coil at small bell. And the bottom feed goes right to the start the Runman motor. So I call that the because every time you get an extra base hit, might as well just act like somebody's turning a switch on and you're running all three of those things. But the single is kind of another big switch, but it doesn't go on to these parallel feeds. It comes in through this closed make and break switch, and then comes around, and eventually goes to the same thing: small bell, loading coil, and run man. But it's direct. It's direct. But it's still like so the single switch on the playfield is like another big switch, doing all three of those things. It's just this one's on number 2 relay. So that's my correction to make that easier to memorize. So here we were on these name relays. I put the stars by them because they were just a name relay. They weren't called name reset. So I haven't even started on those other ones, but I said I'd circle them before. There they are up here. So now I'm going to study those and do that. But sometimes you gotta go back and restudy stuff to keep it all straight. I'm able to finish the run man and correct a video I had earlier where I really didn't know how the base runners got from base to base. But now I know. I first realized that the index position wasn't a motor run. Then I thought, oh no, then I got this wrong, because my guess of how it worked was that this was a motor run, and then every time it went out of the dwell, it would keep the motor going, it would stop in the dwell, and I said the other ones must bypass it stopping in the dwell somehow. But I guess I didn't have it figured out, and I think I said in the video I really don't know, because I couldn't see how the schematic showed anything bypassing anything. But now I know the answer. When I used the mirror and looked up there and found a newer one that had the cam positions, they work correctly. If you're in the back here by the motor, which when you're behind the machine is not in the back, it's up there where home plate would be. Anyway, if you turn this down and around under, then the motor would be under home plate. And first, well, that's just the way you draw it when you do it like this. And then, because if you lowered this down, then the runners would be going around like this, and this would work. But so you get first over here. You get the way you're looking at it. You get first over here at 9 o'clock, and second at 12 o'clock, and third base at 3 o'clock, and home is at 6 o'clock. And then it goes clockwise the way we're looking at it. And the switches are all just fastened by these X's. So position 4, and I didn't know why this was called position 4, but I did find the positions from a 1960 machine. I'll bring that up and show what I showed on the earlier video. I had this, there's 2 cams, so I did, these were labeled with these little brackets here. See, this one was called number 2, and this one was, they were labeled with little brackets. And that's where I got this one saying man, it said man motor run switch. That's why I thought this index was a motor run switch, but it's not. I found out, and I'll show you, it pulls in B motor relay when this turns out of the dwell. That's what it does, and it changes 2 make and break switches. Through earlier in the month, I found these positions, what they were called, position 4, and then straight across diagonally position 1, and then over here 2, and then diagonally across position 3. So you got 4, 1, 2, 3, like that, like they're straight across like that from each other. And there's nothing between this base and nothing between this base. That I could see with my mirror. But all I could figure for the longest time is that all 4 switches will open in the dwell, all 4 switches, one right after another, because every time it turns a quarter turn, all 4 switches will have opened and shut. So then I thought, well, how could it get from here past that? Because they've all 4 opened and shut, which would have broke the hole. Yeah, you got this is the cam then that we were looking at, and its switch will break the hold here, which goes straight over to number 2 relay that has the thing I call the big switch that runs the number 2 relays, number 3 switch that turns on run man. So the number 2 relay switch 3 could really be called motor run, not the index. And yesterday I found where I got this off the internet somewhere. It goes to my 1963 Major League. And
That's what
gave a bunch of order going right down.
That's what gave me a clue
to 10, but the order of the switches is the timing order going around that cam. It'll just say number 1 position will open the circuit to the double relay, and the number 2 position will open the circuit to the triple relay. And it also gives another duty if it was 2 switches on that one. But we're just interested in the each one just says it opens the switch to break the number 1 switch opens it and breaks the double. Number 2 opens it and breaks the triple. Number 3 opens and breaks the home run, and number 4 circuit breaks the man loads coil switch. Hold. The rest we're not worried about, because this doesn't even go to my 1958 machine. It was all the stuff I'd already figured out. I'd already found this one from a 1966, or I don't know what, 1960 machine.
No,
It
1966.
showed the cam on the schematic, and that's where I got the 4, 1, 2, 3 positions. So I already knew that. So I knew they were staggered like that, and that they all weren't in the same spot. See how this 4 is real close to this dwell, and this one's out in the middle, and how this one's close to this side of the dwell. This one's on this side of one, but this one's on this side of one, and this one's right before here. So you got one in the middle, one on the edge, one on this edge, and one on kind of between halfway.
3/4.
So I knew they were all staggered. I didn't know why, other than that at least they won't all go in the dwell at the same time. And now I read that thing where it says position 1 bricks 2 relay, position 2 bricks 3 relay, position 4 bricks 4 relay, position 4 bricks load coil. That was all stuff I'd already known from finding it out from that other schematic about a month ago. So here we go. Here's the about 20 words in this little paragraph that helped me figure it out. It says switches number 1, 2, and 3, and number 4 open in this and that order. And each one must be closed before the next one opens. So that little thing right there, switch 1, 2, and 3, and 4 open in that order, and one must be closed before the next one. One must be closed before the next one opens. So that in itself gave it away, but I had to think on it overnight. Okay, so now we know why they staggered them. They want each one to be closed before the next one opens. But I didn't know why they put them in this order: 4, 1, 2, 3. But now I do. So each one, this is a timing order, and each one will, because as this turns, I made a model. Just a minute. Okay, I made a little cardboard model. So this is position 4, position 1, position 3, position 2. So every one of these will go through. Every one of these, when it turns just a quarter turn, like from the motor I put here to just this quarter turn, all switches will open and close in that amount of time. And it's important which one opens first, and then which one opens and closes last. Position 1 is going to go in the dwell first because it's right there. See it? First. And position 4 is going to go in last. It's going to go in last because it's got to travel this whole way. So, and 2 is in the middle. And so the first one to go in is 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. Now the small matters. Okay, I wrote up what I came up with this morning. I said I've got it. I laid there this morning, woke up early thinking about, and I'd already given up the day before, so about 6 a.m. I had the answer. The timing is counting in a way. Back where I was stuck, thinking of from dwell to dwell, all 4 switches at their labeled positions go off and on, so I couldn't get past that because I thought it would break the hold. Why the electricity holding on the number 1 switch to their own relays. Let's use the home run for an example. I couldn't get past why all the holds wouldn't be broken on the first quarter turn because all 4 are going to open and close in just a quarter turn. The first dwell, as all would open, ending the turn at just a quarter turn, they would have all opened, and a 3/4 turn left to go on a home run. So no, I couldn't get past that. And then I read that Williams little paragraph. Williams guy writing that paragraph of just 20 words, saying they're spaced in that order for a reason, and position 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, here's the kicker, the slap in the face, why did I think of this? The scenario, well, here it is. Position 1, and its switch. Position 1 and its closed switch out of the dwell go in the dwell. Start back here. Well, here it is. Position 1 and its switch, its closed switch out of the dwell, because the switches are closed out of the dwell, go in the dwell. last being in that order in 1, 2, 3, and 4. So guess what? So guess what one is now cutting off, leaving the rest energized and still holding there. So position 4 hooks to the loading coil. It has no relay, so the loading coil is done and out of the picture and cannot get re-energized like the other relays because it's not wired together, as the others are all hooked together to hold them on, to hold them. If the hold is cut, they get re-energized from the other relays that were earlier in the sequence, 1, 2, 3, and 4 sequences. So for the home run, with the now position 3 is the highest or the last one to get knocked out. Next position 4 gets last cut and stays cut, but it was still hooked to position 3 and 2. It was cut last out of the second time through a dwell. Now we're down to a couple left, and the last one out of the dwell permanently, last one out of the dwell left now, the last one out of the dwell permanently cuts it out before it was cut out. Now the last one out of the dwell permanently cuts it out before it was cut out and re-energized and kept its hold going. So even though position 4 earlier was knocked out, it might be alarming because it's associated with the home run. Relay 4 is associated with the home run. Actually, the last on the left at the end to get it to go to the fourth base for the home run to be finished is the second position, not the fourth one. And guess what? The number 2 relay, switch 3, runs the big switch, my slang, and it could be called the motor run switch because after the load coil is knocked out on the first round through the dwells with all 4 switches, it's also hooked to the small bell, so the bell and the loading coil are out of the picture after the first round of all the switches going through the first dwell. So number 2 relay could be called the motor run for the rest of the way. So number 2 relay could be called the motor run relay for the rest of the way, since the bell and the load coil are out of the picture. Well, the motor run for the rest of the way on a 4-base hit. So each one being hooked together keeps the other hold and relay pulled in, and they get knocked off one at a time. Position 4 then gone, then position 3 gone, their holds cut, leaving the last base with no more to keep it energized because the rest were hooked together. This would be the last one that holds the number 2 relay. Holds the number 2 relay, running the big switch. Motor cut is just before the runners reach the home plate, and it coasts the rest of the way. And that last position 2 is centered between the 2 dwells, not on the edge, so it will have to coast a little bit. But that is minor. Hooray! Finished. I didn't give up, even though when I went to bed I said I would give up. And I've been trying to get this for a month. But I said, wow, I don't think this is the way I have done it. If I was working at Williams, I would have just thought to wire the switches in the order using the cams, using 4 cams, and just 1 notch in each cam for each base. Then anybody could look at it and simply see what was going on without racking their brain for a month long. So that's the thing that cost me all this thinking. But now I got the answer. Yeah, position 1 breaks 2 relay. Position 2 breaks 3 relay, position, what I say, 3 breaks 4 relay, and position 4 breaks the load coil. And it has to be in that order. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Must be closed before the next switch opens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sequence 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is the last one. Because then 4 gets knocked out. 4 gets knocked out last, so 4 is out of the picture because it can't get re-energized. It's not hooked to the rest of the relays. Then the next one out is
3.
4 gets, it's the last in the order because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, but since it's the last in the order, 4 is the last if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, it gets locked out last. So then 3's knocked out, and then 2's knocked out, and then 1's knocked out, and then it's at home base. We're talking about a homer. Okay, the double being the last one to be knocked out has to be the last one because it runs the big switch. This is its hold switch 1. Switch 3 is the big switch right here. It turns on these 2 lines. The top line goes to the bell and the load coil. The bottom line is the run man motor run. So that's why I said, if anything, this is for the extra base hit. This is for the single. The single's up here and doesn't use a relay and can get knocked out first. So the single will find its path down to do the small bell, loading coil, and run man. The large bell is when the guy hits home plate. And it has a lower sound, this has a higher sound. At the single doesn't use a relay, and the single switch, there's 2 on the play field, goes, and it hits the small bell and the loading coil, and that relay pulls in the loading coil switch, and it's held on until the motor turns and cuts it. Remember, this would be the last one to get cut because it's number 4. And then this all happens real quick, and then it's going to come through all these. And now it couldn't have got to the man run motor, but this is normally closed. This is the man run, one of the make and breaks, the 2 make and break and switches that are going to switch when the motor turns. That's the index, or that just turns B motor relay. This is B motor relay. It pulls in when the motor turns. It's nothing to do with the index. It just turns. When the motor turns, that turning the switch, the index switch, yeah, the index switch does do this. The index switch comes out of the dwell and then pulls in the motor relay, and it switches. And it has 2 make and breaks here and 1 insignificant one. That's just a 2-blade. So both these will drop down now. And this one is kind of significant. It stops any more from being loaded because this will drop down here. And see, the switch can't go up here and ring the bell anymore and do the small bell and the loading coil. So with this down here now, the big switch can only just go straight for the motor run. And that's why this could be called the motor run switch. So now with that knowledge, we go back down to the home run and the So with number 1 knocked out, this one's knocked out on the first round by the number 4 position on the cam, because that's the last one to go through a dwell. All the rest are earlier, and they will re-energize themselves as they're not knocked out yet. And then the home run gets knocked out with this one, cutting the hole. Then the next dwell, this one cuts out the triple. Double's already cut out. And then the position 1 cuts the hole and cuts out the double, and then you're done and you're coasting to home plate. So like I said, when I had that wrong, the index is right here. When it comes out of the dwell and closes, it pulls in B motor relay, which changed these 2 making breaks. And the 2-blade switch is way down here at the bottom of the schematic. It's something to do with the strike stepper unit. It's nothing to do with running the man. So between these 2 changing poles, this one changes poles, and if you got a grand slam, we'll give you the name things all. So unless you get a grand slam, this change of this motor relay being pulled in from this one coming out of the index. So this is kind of the 5th switch. It comes on every time it comes out of the index, and keeps this pulled in, which keeps these 2 make and break switches so they can do different duties. This one cutting off the bell and the load coil. This one sending it up to the NAM relay in case you got a grand slam. And the other one down there was for some strikes stepper unit reset. Okay, so I built a model. I've done everything. I've used a mirror. I've stared up at that thing. I've tried everything I could, and finally, because I was persistent, a month later I got the answer. So now I can go back on the relays, and I think the next one was going to be the NAM reset relay.